Shadow in the void. Commander Maya Chen stood at the viewport of the U.S. horizon, watching stars streak past as they approached Cirrus Station. Her dark eyes reflected the distant lights of passing vessels, her expression unreadable. At 42, Chen had spent more than half her life in space, commanding various ships across the solar defense fleet. The Horizon was her newest assignment, a state-of-the-art destroyer equipped with the latest quantum sensors and plasma-based weapon systems. Commander, Lieutenant Raj Kapoor's voice broke through her thoughts. "We're receiving a priority communication from Admiral Wyland." Chen nodded, stepping away from the viewport. "Put it through to my quarters. I'll take it privately." In her sparse cabin, Chen activated the secure comm channel. Admiral Wayland's weathered face appeared on the screen, tension evident in the lines around his eyes. "Commander Chen, glad you're almost at Ceres. We have a situation developing." "What kind of situations, sir?" Chen asked, already detecting the gravity in his tone. 3 ships have disappeared near the Riker Belt in the past week. No distress calls, no debris fields, no survivors. One moment they were transmitting routine status reports. The next, nothing. Chen frowned. Pirates. That was our first thought. But these weren't civilian transports. They were military vessels. The Dauntless, the Everest, and the Sentinel all disappeared without a trace. Chen felt her stomach tighten. Those were all Omega-class cruisers, heavily armed and well-shielded. Not the kind of ships that vanish without putting up a fight. "What's our mission, sir?" "Investigate. Find out what's happening out there. But proceed with extreme caution, Commander. I'm sending you the coordinates of their last known positions. Whatever took out 3 Omega cruisers is not to be engaged without backup." "Understood, Admiral." The transmission ended, leaving Chen staring at the screen. Outside her viewport, Cirrus Station grew larger, its massive docking rings accommodating dozens of vessels. But the Horizon wouldn't be stopping. They had a new destination now. "Approaching the Riker Belt, Commander," announced Lieutenant Emma Rivers from the helm. "Last known coordinates of the Sentinel dead ahead." Chen nodded, studying the holographic display floating above the central command table. The asteroid belt shimmered as a translucent blue representation, millions of rocks scattered across a vast region of space. "Any signs of debris?" she asked. Dr. Nikolai Sokolov, the ship's chief science officer, shook his head. His silver-streaked beard caught the light as he moved. "Nothing, Commander. No radiation signatures, no fragments, no emergency beacons. It's as if the ships simply ceased to exist." "That's impossible," muttered Lieutenant Kapoor, frowning at his tactical display. "Ships don't just vanish." "Slow to quarter speed," Chen ordered. "Full sensor sweep, maximum range, and maintain combat readiness." The Horizon's engines hummed at a lower pitch as the ship reduced velocity. Throughout the vessel, crew members moved with practiced efficiency, but there was an undercurrent of tension. Everyone knew about the missing ships. "Commander," Dr. Sokolov's voice cut through the low buzz of activity. "I'm detecting an unusual energy signature approximately 50,000 kilometers off our starboard bow." "Define unusual, Doctor." "It doesn't match any known propulsion system or natural phenomenon. It's fluctuating, almost like it's breathing." Chen's eyes narrowed. "Show me." The holographic display shifted, highlighting a region of seemingly empty space. A soft, pulsing glow appeared, rhythmic in its intensity. "Is it a ship?" Chen asked. "Unknown," Sokolov replied. "But it's moving. Slowly, deliberately." "Put it on the main viewer." The massive screen at the front of the bridge activated, showing the starfield. At first, Chen saw nothing unusual. Then, as she watched more carefully, she noticed a subtle distortion, like heat waves rising from pavement on a scorching day, a slight bending of the light from stars behind it. "Magnify," she ordered. The image zoomed in, and the distortion became more apparent. It had shape, sleek, elongated, with strange curves that seemed to defy conventional ship design. "It's cloaked," Lieutenant Kapoor said, his voice tense. "But not like any cloaking technology I've ever seen. Our sensors aren't being blocked. They're simply sliding around it." "Hail them," Chen commanded. "All frequencies." Communications Officer Zara Mbiki nodded, her fingers dancing across her console. "Channel open." "Commander." Chen stepped forward. "This is Commander Maya Chen of the Earth vessel U.S. Horizon. Unknown ship, identify yourself." Silence stretched across the bridge. The distortion in space remained, pulsing slightly, but there was no response. "Again," Chen ordered. Before Mbiki could transmit, Dr. Sokolov called out, "Commander, the energy signature is changing. It's intensifying." Chen had barely processed his words when the distortion in space shifted, becoming more distinct. For a brief moment, they caught a glimpse of something truly alien, a ship unlike any human design, its surface seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it, with strange, organic-looking protrusions and pulsing veins of energy running through its hull. "Shields up," Chen shouted. Evasive maneuvers. The horizon lurched as Rivers threw it into a steep dive. On the screen, a brilliant beam of energy sliced through the space they had occupied moments before. "Return fire," Chen ordered. "Target their last visible position." The horizon's plasma cannons roared to life, sending brilliant blue bolts shooting toward the distortion. But they passed straight through, impacting harmlessly against distant asteroids. "No hit," Kapoor reported, his voice rising. "It's not there anymore." "Where did it?" Chen's question was cut short as the ship violently shuddered. Alarms blared throughout the bridge, and emergency lighting flashed. "We've been hit," Kapoor shouted over the noise. "Port side, decks 3 through 5. Shields down to 40%. "I didn't see it fire," Rivers exclaimed, her hands flying over the helm controls. "It's moving too fast," Sokolov said, his eyes wide as he studied his readings. "Or, no, that's not quite right. It's phasing in and out of our reality. That's why we can't track it properly." Another hit rocked the ship, sending several crew members sprawling. Sparks erupted from a console on the far side of the bridge. "Damage report," Chen demanded, gripping the command table to stay upright. "Shields at 22%, Kapoor answered, his face illuminated by the red warning lights. "Weapons systems still operational, but we can't hit what we can't see." Chen's mind raced. Whatever this ship was, it outclassed the Horizon in every way. If it had destroyed 3 Omega cruisers, their own destroyer didn't stand a chance in direct combat. "Prepare to jump to FTL," she ordered. "We need to regroup and warn Fleet Command." "Commander," Sokolov interrupted, his voice tight with urgency. "I'm detecting multiple energy signatures now. Similar to the first, but smaller. They're surrounding us." The main viewer shifted to show the space around the horizon. Several distortions had appeared, encircling them in a perfect formation. "They're cutting off our escape," Kapoor said, the implications clear in his tone. Chen stared at the viewer, knowing they were looking at their death. The mysterious ship had been toying with them, and now it had called in reinforcements to finish the job. But then, unexpectedly, the distortions shifted again. Instead of closing in, they maintained their distance. The attacks ceased. "They've stopped firing," Rivers said, confusion evident in her voice. "Why?" Chen wondered aloud. "They had us dead to rights." Dr. Sokolov leaned closer to his console, his brow furrowed. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual radiation now. It's flooding our sensors, but it's not harmful. It's almost like they're scanning us intensively." Chen straightened her uniform, trying to project a calm she didn't feel. "They're studying us," she realized, "just like we were trying to study them." For several tense minutes, no one moved. The horizon hung in space, surrounded by the invisible fleet, caught in a standoff that wasn't really a standoff at all. They were at the complete mercy of whoever, or whatever, commanded these strange vessels. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the distortions began to fade. One by one, the energy signatures diminished until only the original, larger one remained. "They're withdrawing," Sokolov reported, disbelief in his voice. "No," Chen said quietly. "Not withdrawing. They've learned what they wanted to know. Now they're letting us go." "Why would they do that?" Kapoor asked. Chen watched as the final distortion slowly retreated, disappearing into the darkness of space. "To send a message. They want us to tell others what we saw here today." As the horizon limped away from the encounter site, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. They had just experienced humanity's first contact with something beyond their understanding, something that could have destroyed them without effort but chose not to. And that, perhaps, was the most terrifying realization of all. Invisible enemy. 3 days after their encounter in the Riker Belt, the U.S. Horizon docked at Ganymede Station for emergency repairs. Commander Chen stood before the Joint Fleet Command, her uniform pristine despite the dark circles under her eyes. Sleep had been elusive since their brush with the unknown. "So you're telling us this vessel, or vessels, can effectively render themselves invisible, not just to sensors but to direct visual observation?" Admiral Wayland asked, his holographic projection flickering slightly across the conference table. "Yes, sir," Chen replied. "Dr. Sokolov believes they're using some form of dimensional phase-shifting technology. They don't merely bend light around themselves like our experimental cloaking systems. They partially exist in another dimension, making them almost impossible to target." General Laura Hayes, head of Earth Defense, leaned forward. Her weathered face betrayed nothing, but her voice carried the weight of decades of military service. "And you believe these are the same entities responsible for the destruction of the Dauntless, Everest, and Sentinel?" "Without question, General. The energy signatures match residual readings we found of the ship's last known coordinates. They were watching us the entire time we searched the area." The room fell silent as the military leadership processed this information. Finally, Admiral Wayland spoke. "Commander Chen, I'm promoting you to captain effective immediately. The Horizon will be your command, and you'll be given additional resources. Your mission is to learn everything you can about these entities and determine whether they represent an imminent threat to Earth and our colonies." Chen nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "Thank you, sir, but I'll need more than just resources. I need special projects to fast-track Dr. Sokolov's modifications to our sensor arrays." Hayes frowned. "What modifications?" "Dr. Sokolov believes he can recalibrate our quantum sensors to detect the phase variance these ships create when they shift between dimensions. It won't give us a perfect targeting solution, but it might provide enough warning to evade their attacks." "Approved," Wayland said without hesitation. "Whatever you need." A week later, Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the newly repaired Horizon. The ship had been retrofitted with Sokolov's experimental sensors, and additional weapon systems had been installed, though Chen harbored no illusions about their effectiveness against the phase-shifting technology they had encountered. "All systems go, Captain," Lieutenant Kapoor reported. "Special projects came through with those sensor modifications. Dr. Sokolov says they're operating at 93% efficiency." "That'll have to do," Chen replied, settling into the command chair. Lieutenant Rivers set course for the Jupiter defense perimeter. "Maximum speed." "Jupiter defense?" Kapoor questioned, his brow furrowed. "I thought we were returning to the Riker Belt." Chen shook her head. "We're not hunting them, Lieutenant. We're setting a trap." As the Horizon accelerated away from Ganymede Station, Chen brought up the tactical display. The Jupiter defense perimeter was humanity's most fortified position in the outer system. A network of automated defense platforms, sensor buoys, and patrol vessels that monitored all traffic into and out of the inner planets. "Our encounters weren't random," Chen explained to her senior staff. "They've been systematically probing our defenses, testing our capabilities. The question is, why?" Dr. Sokolov stroked his beard thoughtfully. Perhaps they're preparing for something larger. Exactly, Chen agreed. And I believe they'll be drawn to the Jupiter perimeter next. It's our strongest defensive position, and they'll want to assess it before making any major moves. So we position ourselves within the perimeter, Kapoor reasoned, and wait for them to show up. With our modified sensors, we should be able to detect them before they realize we can see them, Chen confirmed. And I've requested Fleet Command to quietly position 3 battle groups just beyond the Jovian moons, ready to jump in when we give the signal. Lieutenant Rivers looked up from her console. Captain, that's still not going to be enough firepower if these ships are as advanced as we think. Chen's expression hardened. We're not looking to win a direct confrontation, Lieutenant. We're looking to learn and to communicate. 2 days passed without incident as the Horizon patrolled the outer edge of the Jupiter perimeter. Tension aboard the ship had reached a palpable level, with crew members jumping at shadows and minor equipment malfunctions. Chen was reviewing system reports in her quarters when the alert came. Captain to the bridge. We have contact. She was moving before the announcement finished, striding onto the bridge moments later. Report. Dr. Sokolov looked up from his station, excitement and fear battling in his expression. The modified sensors worked, Captain. We've detected 3 distinct phase variances, 2 small, 1 large, approaching the defense platform at Sector 7. They can't see us yet. Chen confirmed. No, Captain. We're well outside their observed scanning range, and they appear to be focused on the defense platform. Perfect. Chen moved to the command chair. Lieutenant Mviki, open a direct channel to Admiral Wayland. Lieutenant Kapoor, prepare the package. Package ready, Captain, Kapoor reported as Mviki established the secure connection. Admiral Wayland's face appeared on the screen. Captain Chen, I take it our guests have arrived. Yes, sir. 3 vessels, approaching the Jupiter perimeter. Request permission to proceed with Operation Handshake. Wayland hesitated only briefly. Permission granted. Good luck, Captain. Chen turned to her crew. This is it, people. Remember, we're not here to fight a war. We're here to prevent one. She nodded to Kapoor. Deploy the package. From the Horizon's launch bay, a small probe shot forward, accelerating rapidly toward the distant, invisible ships. Unlike conventional weapons, this probe carried no explosives. Instead, it contained a sophisticated communications array designed to broadcast across thousands of frequencies simultaneously. Package away, Kapoor confirmed. Impact in 30 seconds. Chen watched the tactical display, where 3 ghostly outlines were now visible thanks to Sokolov's sensors. The alien vessels hovered near one of the defense platforms, apparently studying it. They've detected the probe, Sokolov warned. The largest ship is changing position. Hold steady, Chen ordered. Let them make the first move. The probe continued its trajectory, straight toward the lead alien ship. At the last moment, the vessel shifted, not physically moving, but phasing further into its alternate dimension. The probe passed harmlessly through the space where it had been. Now, Chen commanded. Kapoor activated the probe's secondary systems. Instead of detonating, it released a cloud of specialized nanites, another creation of special projects, based on Sokolov's theories about the phase-shifting technology. The cloud enveloped the space where the alien ships existed between dimensions. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, gradually, the nanites began to interfere with the phase variants, forcing the vessels to partially materialize in normal space. On the main viewer, 3 ships flickered into partial visibility, sleek, dark vessels with organic-looking contours and pulsing veins of energy running through their hulls. They're trapped between phases, Sokolov explained, his voice hushed with awe. Not fully in our dimension, but unable to fully retreat to theirs. Lieutenant Mbiki, broadcast the first contact package, Chen ordered. All frequencies. The communications officer nodded, initiating the transmission. A carefully crafted message combining mathematical sequences, visual representations of the solar system, and basic linguistic patterns. It was humanity's best attempt at saying, "We come in peace and wish to understand you." For several tense moments, there was no response. The alien ships remained caught in the nanite field, their forms flickering like ghosts in the void. Then, unexpectedly, the largest vessel emitted a pulse of energy. Unlike their previous attacks, this wasn't directed at the horizon. Instead, it expanded outward in all directions, washing over the nanite cloud. "They're responding," Sokolov exclaimed. The pulse reached the horizon, passing harmlessly through its shields. As it did, the ship's systems flickered momentarily. Then, on every screen throughout the bridge, symbols began to appear, complex geometric patterns shifting and flowing. "It's some kind of language," Mbiki said, her fingers flying over her console as she attempted to analyze the patterns. "The computer is trying to process it." The symbols continued to flow across the screens, becoming more organized, more structured. Then, gradually, they began to transform into something recognizable. Simple Earth words appearing alongside the alien symbols. Observe, understand, evaluate. Chen's breath caught in her throat. "They're learning our language in real time," she whispered. More words appeared. "Your species, expanding, existence, potential." They've been watching us, Chen realized. For how long, we don't know. What-ifs. Chen stepped forward, addressing the screen directly. "To communicate, to understand, we mean no harm." There was a pause, the symbols swirling rapidly before new words formed. Others said similar. Then, etakate. Chen exchanged glances with her senior officers. Others, "There are other species you've encountered." "Many species. Many civilizations. Most extinct." A chill ran down Chen's spine. "By your hand, some. Others, by their own actions. Expansion leads to CO and FLITT. Conflict leads to destruction." Sokolov leaned forward. "They're not just visitors," he murmured. "They're evaluators." Chen nodded slowly, understanding dawning. "You test species to determine if they're threats." "Correct. Your weapons, primitive. Your potential, significant. Your future, undetermined." "That's why you destroyed those ships," Chen said. "You were testing our military capabilities." "Necessary assessment, not destruction." "Relocation. Relocation." Kapoor echoed. "What does that mean?" Before anyone could speculate further, the alien communication continued. "Your TRIP, unexpected. Your attempt to communicate, noted. Your species will be monitored." The nanite clouds surrounding the alien vessels began to disperse, breaking down at a molecular level. The ship's outlines grew more distinct for a moment before starting to fade. "Wait," Chen called out. "We have so many questions. Questions lead to gnododleg. Knowledge leads to understanding. Understanding leads to peace or war. Choice is yours." With those final words, the alien vessels disappeared completely, leaving no trace of their presence except the lingering message on the horizon screens. Admiral Whalen's voice broke the silence that had fallen over the bridge. "Captain Chen, did we get anything?" Chen stared at the empty space where the ships had been, her mind racing with the implications of what they had learned. "Yes, Admiral," she replied finally. "We got everything." And nothing at all. 1 month later, Captain Chen stood at the viewport in her quarters on the horizon, watching Earth grow larger as they approached. After their encounter at Jupiter, Fleet Command had recalled the ship for a comprehensive debriefing and analysis of the alien communication. A soft chime announced a visitor. "Enter," Chen called. Dr. Sokolov stepped inside, holding a datapad. The final report, Captain. Ready for your signature before we submit it to command. Chen took the pad, skimming its contents. It detailed everything they had learned about the mysterious visitors, their technology, their apparent mission, and the ominous warning about humanity's future. Do you think they'll come back? Sokolov asked quietly. Chen looked up at the scientist, then back out at the blue-green planet spinning gently below them. They never left, Doctor. They're watching us right now, waiting to see what we'll do with what we've learned. And what will we do? Sokolov pressed. Chen set down the pad and turned to face him fully. That's the question, isn't it? They've given us a choice. Use our knowledge to pursue peace or war. The easy path would be to accelerate our weapons development. Try to match their technology. But you don't think that's the right path? No. Chen shook her head. They've been doing this for who knows how long, evaluating species, determining their threat level. And they've clearly encountered civilizations that chose aggression. Civilizations that no longer exist, Sokolov added soberly. Chen nodded. Exactly. This isn't just about first contact anymore. It's about proving we deserve to exist alongside them. She picked up the datapad again, adding her final recommendations to the report. In light of our encounter with the unidentified vessels, I strongly advise against any aggressive military response or attempts to develop weapons capable of targeting their phase shift technology. Instead, I recommend establishing a dedicated communication and research division focused on understanding their language and intentions more fully. These beings have the power to destroy us, but chose communication instead. We should honor that choice with one of our own. Humanity stands at a crossroads, and the path we choose now may well determine our species' fate for generations to come. Captain Maya Chen signed the report and handed it back to Sokolov. Outside the viewport, Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun, blissfully unaware of the invisible watchers in the void beyond, and the choice that would determine whether humanity would reach the stars or join the ranks of civilizations that had chosen unwisely. The warship no one saw coming had changed everything. Now it was up to them to decide what came next.